Hello and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm your host, Talor Whitaker. Today we'll discuss a broad range of topics from the 2019 Indiana legislative session, and joining me right now with his take is Representative Earl Harris Jr.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Lots of stuff going on this year. It is a budget year, so we're prepping all that money for the next 2 years. Lots of things on the table, including the fact that you have a new leadership role. You are now the Assistant Minority Whip.
Correct.
The Vice Chair of the Black Legislative Caucus as well, but there's some leadership perspective that comes with these positions. Can you talk to me about kind of this new experience?
Yeah, sure. When you talk about being the Assistant Minority Whip, it really has to do with more direct contact with the other members in terms of what their thoughts are on legislation, if they're a yes, a no, a maybe, a not sure.
Yes.
And really having to be able to talk to them in specifics about the legislation, because sometimes they'll have questions or they want to talk about it as they're kind of working through their answers. So it really steps up the game, shall we say, a little bit in terms of knowledge of the legislation. And then in terms of being a Vice Chair of the Black Caucus, I mean, there are a group of us that are members of the Black Caucus. There's a leadership role in that in terms of running things, information, et cetera. So it all kind of works together, actually.
Yeah, I think it makes your position more robust. It's
exactly.
Definitely a good thing. All right, well, let's talk about legislation then moving forward. You've got some child advocacy stuff going on, homelessness, food insecurity. That's a big deal right now. So tell me about that.
Sure. So over this past summer, I attended NALEO and sat in on a session that had to do with college students that have issues with lack of food, homeless. And I really was blown over by the information.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I did in terms of the number. I mean, we don't know, as example, in Indiana, we don't really know what, we think nationally it's between 30 to 40% of our college students that have issues with food or homeless. And that's a scary thought, especially in a state like Indiana where we have a workforce development issue. So if you have 30 to 40% of your students that may drop out, not because they can't hack it, but because they're starving and they're homeless, and we do live in Indiana, so we have this thing called winter.
Yes.
And if people are sleeping in their cars, if they drop out, the likelihood of them coming back is pretty low.
Yeah.
So this has become a big issue for me in terms of what kind of support we can provide, what we can do. And I've looked at different things across the country, and there really doesn't seem to be like a perfect answer.
Right.
So I'd love for Indiana to be the lead on that, but I really want to do it because I think it's important to help our young people.
I mean, does it take understanding the background of these kids? I mean, they've made it to the college level, and yet this is something they're struggling with. I mean, I know that Indiana does have food deserts in general, but the homelessness factor is really alarming.
You know, it's been a great learning experience because, you know, part of what happens with some students is they know they have enough money or they get scholarships and financial aid to take care of their classes, they can take care of their books. Some of them go into it knowing I'm not sure where I'm going to sleep my entire experience. I'm not sure about food, but I got to figure it out because this is my chance to improve my life. And that's really incredible. I've even learned of people that will get a gym membership because it gives you a place to shower, and if your gym's open 24/7, you can go there when the weather is extreme and have a place to stay and get out of, you know, minus 20-degree weather and ice and snow falling out of the sky. So there's a lot of different techniques that I've learned about that people do, and that just makes it harder. The other flip side of that, I'll add to it, if someone can survive having issues with lack of food and homelessness and make it through college, that's someone we need to hire because that person can survive anything and persevere no matter what situation you give them.
Right. Now, have you been able to get boots on the ground and kind of talk to any of these students that are directly affected by this?
So I really put a lot of effort before session started and during session to get in, have conversation with agencies, talk to universities, find out more about what they're doing, what's in place to figure out where we go. And I think what we really need to focus on is finding out those numbers. So I haven't had as much direct conversation and communication with actual students. I'm trying to figure out the outside of it, shall we say, and then we'll get into working in, because we've even talked about having a town hall. That's one of the things we've talked about doing, and bringing in students that are in this situation or some that have actually gone through it already.
Right. Well, they say it takes a village. Even at college age, it still takes a village.
Still takes a village.
Thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here at the Indiana State House. This is Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Talor Whitaker.